2026 is the year of the great Windows exodus. Millions of users are finally done with Microsoft's nonsense, and if you're watching this video, you're probably one of them. Maybe it's the constant updates that break more than they fix. Maybe it's recall screenshotting everything you do. Maybe it's the ads in an operating system you paid for. Or maybe you just can't upgrade to Windows 11 because your perfectly good computer doesn't have TPM 2.0. Whatever the reason, you're ready to leave, but there's one problem. You've heard Linux is complicated and you're worried it'll be too different from Windows. Well, I have good news. There are Linux distributions that look, feel, and work almost exactly like Windows. You can switch today and barely notice the difference. I'm going to show you 7 Linux distros specifically designed for Windows refugees. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one is right for you. Let me start with why this matters right now in 2026. Windows 10 support ended in October 2025. Microsoft is charging $30 a year for security updates, and that only lasts until 2028. Windows 11 has been an absolute disaster with over 20 major update failures in 2025 alone. Recall is invading your privacy. Hardware requirements are creating 240 million computers worth of e-waste. And Windows 12 is going to be even worse with more AI, more cloud dependency, more subscriptions, and less control. People are leaving Windows in record numbers, and the tech-savvy ones are going to Linux. But here's the thing, most people don't know. Linux isn't what it used to be. It's not all black terminal screens and typing cryptic commands anymore. Modern Linux distributions are beautiful, user-friendly, and incredibly stable. Most of them come with everything you need pre-installed. Web browser, Office suite, media players, all ready to go. And the best part? They're completely free. No license fees, no subscriptions, no ads, no telemetry spying on you. You actually own your computer again. Now I know what you're thinking. What about my programs? What about my games? We'll talk about that. But first, let's go through the 7 Linux distros that will make you feel right at home if you're coming from Windows. I'm going to rank these from most Windows-like to least, so if you want something that feels exactly like Windows 10 or 11, stick around for the first few. Number 1, and this is the closest thing to Windows you'll find, is Zorin OS. Zorin is specifically designed for Windows refugees. The developers built this with one goal in mind: make switching from Windows as painless as possible. When you boot up Zorin, you'll think you're looking at Windows. The taskbar is at the bottom. The Start menu is in the bottom left corner. Application icons, system tray, everything is exactly where you expect it. The default theme looks like a cleaner, more polished version of Windows 10. And here's the brilliant part. Zorin comes with layouts. If you want it to look like Windows 11, click a button and boom, you've got a centered taskbar. If you want it to look like Windows 7, they've got that too. You can even make it look like Mac OS if you want, but we're here for Windows, so stick with the Windows layouts. Installation is dead simple. You download the ISO file from Zorin's website, create a bootable USB drive using a tool called Rufus or Balena Etcher, and boot from that USB. The installer walks you through everything step by step. Choose your language, choose your keyboard layout, partition your hard drive, create a username and password. Done. It takes maybe 20 minutes. Zorin comes in 2 main versions. Zorin OS Core is free and perfect for most people. It includes everything you need: Firefox browser, LibreOffice for documents and spreadsheets, a media player, PDF reader, everything. Then there's Zorin OS Pro, which costs $39 and includes extra desktop layouts, premium apps, and advanced support. For most people, the free core version is more than enough. What makes Zorin special is the attention to detail. They include Wine Pre-Configured, which is a compatibility layer that lets you run some Windows programs on Linux. They have a software installation tool that's easier than the Microsoft Store. They've got Zorin Connect, which lets you integrate your Android phone. The file manager works just like Windows Explorer. Right-click menus, drag and drop. Everything feels familiar. The biggest advantage of Zorin is that it reduces the learning curve to almost 0. If you can use Windows, you can use Zorin. The disadvantage? It's based on Ubuntu, which means software updates come less frequently than some other distros. But for stability and reliability, that's actually a good thing. Number 2 is Linux Mint. This is the most popular beginner Linux distribution, and for good reason. Mint uses the Cinnamon desktop environment by default, which looks and feels very similar to Windows 7 and 10. You've got a taskbar at the bottom, a menu button in the bottom left, and system icons in the bottom right. It's immediately familiar. Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu, which means it's rock-solid stable and has massive community support. If you run into any problem with Linux Mint, someone else has had that problem and solved it, and the solution is on the forums or Reddit. The menu in Linux Mint is actually better than Windows in my opinion. It's clean, organized, and has a search bar that actually works. Type what you want, hit enter, it launches. No Bing search results, no web suggestions, just your programs. Mint comes with a software manager that's like an app store, except everything is free. Want a photo editor? Open the Software Manager, search GIMP, click Install. Want a video editor? Search Kdenlive, click Install. No Microsoft account required, no payment info, just install what you need. Linux Mint has 3 desktop environment options. Cinnamon is the main one and looks most like Windows. Mate is lighter weight for older computers, and XFCE is even lighter for really old hardware. If your computer couldn't run Windows 11, any of these will run beautifully. Mint comes with Firefox, LibreOffice, Thunderbird for email, and a full media suite. The Update Manager is brilliant. It shows you available updates and rates them by safety level. Critical security updates are marked as safe. New kernel updates are marked as careful. You have full control. You can update when you want, or not at all. Nobody forces updates on you at 3 a.m. The community around Linux Mint is incredibly welcoming to beginners. The forums are active and helpful. The documentation is clear and easy to follow. If you have a question, someone will answer it. The main disadvantage of Mint is that it's conservative with updates. They prioritize stability over having the absolute newest software. For most users, this is perfect. You want your computer to work reliably, not crash because of experimental features. Number 3 is Kubuntu. This is Ubuntu with the KDE Plasma desktop environment, and it's incredibly customizable while still feeling Windows-like out of the box. KDE Plasma is gorgeous. It's modern, smooth, and powerful. The default layout has a taskbar at the bottom with a start menu that's very similar to Windows 10. The system tray is in the bottom right with your network, sound, notifications, exactly like Windows. What makes KDE special is the customization. You can make it look exactly like Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 7, or create your own unique look. Everything is customizable through graphical settings, no terminal required. Widgets in KDE are fantastic. You can add a clock to your desktop, weather information, system monitors, news feeds, whatever you want. The window management is superior to Windows. You can snap windows to corners and edges, create virtual desktops, use keyboard shortcuts for everything. If you were productive in Windows, you'll be even more productive in KDE. The file manager called Dolphin is incredibly powerful, but still easy to use. It has tabs like a web browser, split view, built-in terminal, search that actually works fast. Kubuntu comes with a huge software repository. Anything you want to install is available. Development tools, creative software, games, utilities, it's all there. The Discover Software Center is clean and easy to use. You can browse by category or search for what you need. Installing software is one click. Updates are clear and don't force restart your computer. The learning curve for Kubuntu is slightly steeper than Zorin or Mint because there are so many options and settings. But if you like customizing your system, KDE gives you that power without needing to edit config files. Number 4 is Ubuntu itself. This is the most popular Linux distribution and the foundation for many others, including Zorin and Mint. Ubuntu uses the GNOME desktop environment, which is a bit different from Windows, but still intuitive. Instead of a taskbar at the bottom, you have a dock on the left side with your favorite applications. There's a top bar showing time, system status, and settings. To access your applications, you click Activities in the top left, or just press the Super key, which is the Windows key on your keyboard. This brings up a search and application launcher. Type what you want, and it appears. GNOME is designed for productivity and minimalism. There's no desktop clutter. Everything is hidden until you need it. This takes maybe a day to get used to, but once you do, it's incredibly efficient. You never use your mouse to hunt through menus. Just press Super, type, enter, done. Ubuntu has the best hardware support of any Linux distribution. Your Wi-Fi will work, your graphics will work, your printers will work. Canonical, the company behind Ubuntu, works with hardware manufacturers to ensure compatibility. This is huge for laptops where Linux sometimes has driver issues. Ubuntu gets new releases every 6 months with new features and updated software. But if you want stability, there's Ubuntu LTS, which stands for long-term support. These releases come every 2 years and get 5 years of updates. The current LTS is rock solid and perfect for people who just want their computer to work without surprises. Software availability on Ubuntu is unmatched. Every Linux program is tested on Ubuntu first. If something works on Linux, it works on Ubuntu. The Snap Store and apt repositories give you access to thousands of free applications. The disadvantage of Ubuntu for Windows users is that GNOME doesn't look like Windows. The workflow is different. You'll need a few days to adjust. But many people prefer GNOME once they learn it because it's faster and less cluttered. And if you really want a Windows-like taskbar, you can install extensions that add one. Ubuntu is also backed by a company with a business model, which means it'll be around for the long term. You're not relying on volunteers who might abandon the project. Number 5 is Pop! OS from System 76. This is based on Ubuntu, but refined and polished specifically for productivity and gaming. Pop! OS uses a modified version of GNOME that's even more keyboard-focused than Ubuntu. The workflow is superb. You launch applications with Super Key, you arrange windows with Super Plus arrow keys, you switch workspaces with Super Plus scroll. Everything is fast and efficient. Pop! OS has the best tiling window manager built into any beginner-friendly distro. Press Super and then T and your windows automatically tile to fill your screen. It's incredible for multitasking. What makes Pop! OS special is the gaming support. System76 ships computers with Pop! OS pre-installed, and they've optimized it for gaming performance. The graphics drivers are configured perfectly out of the box. NVIDIA and AMD drivers just work. Steam is easy to install, and most Windows games run through Proton with excellent performance. Pop! OS also has a recovery partition built in. If something breaks, which is rare, you can recover your system without a USB drive. You just reboot into recovery mode and restore. The Pop! Shop is clean and curated. It's not overwhelming. Software is organized well, and everything is tested. The system updates are smooth and never require reboots unless you're updating the kernel. You can keep working while your system updates in the background. Pop! OS comes in two versions, one with NVIDIA drivers pre-installed and one for Intel and AMD graphics. Download the right one for your hardware, and you'll have zero driver headaches. The learning curve is moderate. The tiling window management takes practice, but once you master it, you'll wonder how you lived without it. Pop! OS is perfect for developers, creators, and gamers who want maximum performance and productivity. The main disadvantage is that some hardware like fingerprint readers or special laptop function keys might not work immediately. System76 prioritizes their own hardware first, though community support is strong. Number 6 is KDE Neon. This is pure KDE Plasma on top of Ubuntu's stable base. It's similar to Kubuntu, but with one key difference. KDE Neon always has the absolute latest KDE desktop environment. If you want the newest features, the most cutting-edge interface, the latest improvements, KDE Neon is where you get them. The base system stays stable because it's Ubuntu LTS underneath, but the desktop environment updates constantly with new features. This is perfect if you love customization and want to use your desktop as a showcase. KDE Neon is beautiful. The animations are smooth, the themes are gorgeous, and you can make it look however you want. The downside is that bleeding-edge software sometimes has bugs. If you're not comfortable troubleshooting occasional glitches, stick with Kubuntu. But if you like living on the edge and want the coolest new features as soon as they're available, KDE Neon delivers. The community is active and focused specifically on KDE, so if you have problems, the forums are full of KDE experts. Number 7 is Fedora Workstation. This is the most different from Windows on this list, but I'm including it because it's incredibly polished, and many Windows refugees love it once they try it. Fedora uses GNOME like Ubuntu, but Fedora's version is pure unmodified GNOME, as the developers intended. It's clean, minimal, and focused. Fedora is known for being cutting edge, but stable. They include the newest software versions and latest technologies before Ubuntu does. Linus Torvalds, the creator of Linux, uses Fedora. That's a pretty strong endorsement. The installation process is straightforward. The Anaconda installer walks you through everything. Once installed, you have a system that's fast, responsive, and reliable. Fedora releases a new version every 6 months, and each version is supported for 13 months. You'll need to upgrade more frequently than Ubuntu LTS, but the upgrade process is smooth and takes maybe 30 minutes. Software availability is excellent through the Fedora repositories and FlatHub for graphical applications. Fedora is perfect for people who want to learn Linux properly. The community doesn't hold your hand as much as Ubuntu or Mint, but they're helpful if you're willing to read documentation. You'll learn more about how Linux actually works by using Fedora. And when you inevitably need to fix something or customize something, well, you'll have developed the skills to do it. The disadvantage is that Fedora doesn't include proprietary drivers or codecs by default. You need to enable third-party repositories to get NVIDIA drivers, play MP3 files, or watch certain video formats. It's not hard, just an extra step that other distros handle automatically. Now let's talk about the practical stuff. What about Microsoft Office? LibreOffice is included in all these distributions, and it's excellent. It opens Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. It can save in Microsoft formats. For most people, it's more than enough. If you absolutely must have real Microsoft Office, you can use the web versions at office.com. They work perfectly in Firefox or Chrome. If you need the desktop versions, some Windows programs run through Wine, though Office is tricky. There's also a commercial option called Crossover that makes running Windows software easier, but it costs money. What about Adobe Photoshop? GIMP is the free alternative, and it's powerful, but I'll be honest, it's not Photoshop. The interface is different, and there's a learning curve. If you're a professional who needs actual Photoshop, you might need to keep a Windows partition for work. But many people are discovering alternatives like Krita for digital painting, Inkscape for vector graphics, Darktable for photo editing, and DaVinci Resolve for video editing. These are all available on Linux, and they're professional quality tools. Gaming is where Linux has made incredible progress. Steam has over 50,000 games, and thousands of them run on Linux natively or through Proton. Valve's compatibility layer makes Windows games work on Linux with performance that's often identical to Windows. Check your favorite games on ProtonDB to see if they work. Most single-player games work great. Multiplayer games with anti-cheat are hit or miss. Apex Legends works. Fortnite doesn't. Rainbow Six Siege doesn't work. Counter-Strike works perfectly. If you play games with kernel-level anti-cheat, you might be stuck with Windows or a dual boot setup. Speaking of dual boot, that's an option if you're not ready to commit fully. You can install Linux alongside Windows and choose which one to boot into when you start your computer. This gives you the safety net of Windows for any programs that don't work on Linux, while letting you use Linux for everything else. Most Linux installers make dual booting easy. They detect Windows and offer to install alongside it. You just choose how much space to give each operating system. Let me walk you through the actual switching process because I know it sounds intimidating. First, back up your important files. Use an external hard drive or cloud storage. Get everything important off your computer. Next, download the ISO file for the Linux distro you want. Go to the website, click download, wait for the file. Then download Rufus if you're on Windows or Balena Etcher, which works on any system. Plug in a USB drive, at least 4 gigabytes, and use Rufus or Etcher to create a bootable USB. This takes maybe 5 minutes. Now restart your computer and boot from the USB drive. You'll need to access your BIOS or boot menu, which usually means pressing F12, F2, delete, or escape during startup. It depends on your computer manufacturer. Once you're booted from the USB, you'll see a live environment. This is Linux running from the USB without installing anything. Try it out. Open the browser, play with settings, see if your Wi-Fi works, test your hardware. If everything works, click the install icon on the desktop. Follow the installer prompts. Choose your language, keyboard layout, and time zone. Then choose how to partition your drive. If you want to completely replace Windows, choose Erase Disk and Install. This wipes Windows entirely. If you want a dual boot, choose Install alongside Windows. The installer will handle the partitioning automatically. Create your username and password, click Install, and wait about 10 to 20 minutes. When it's done, restart, remove the USB drive, and boot into your new Linux system. Congratulations, you've escaped Windows. The first thing you'll want to do is update your system. Open the Software Updater or Update Manager and install any available updates. Then explore the Software Center and install whatever you need. Chrome or Chromium browser if you prefer that over Firefox. Steam if you're a gamer. Spotify, Discord, Zoom, all available. One of the best things about Linux is the software repositories. Instead of downloading installers from random websites and hoping they're not malware, everything comes from a trusted repository. It's all verified, all safe, all free. You'll also want to learn a few keyboard shortcuts. Alt-P allows tab switches between windows like Windows. Super key opens the application launcher. Control plus Alt plus T opens a terminal, which you won't use much as a beginner, but it's handy when you need it. The terminal is not as scary as it sounds. It's just a way to type commands instead of clicking buttons. Sometimes it's actually faster than using graphical tools. If you run into problems, and you will occasionally, Google is your friend. Search for your error message plus your distro name. Ubuntu has the most results because it's most popular. Reddit has active communities for every distro. The Linux Mint forums are incredibly helpful for beginners. Ubuntu forums have answers to everything. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The Linux community loves helping new users, as long as you've tried to solve it yourself first. Let's talk about common concerns. Will my printer work? Probably yes. Linux has excellent printer support through CUPS. Most printers are detected automatically. HP printers have the best support. Canon and Epson mostly work. Brother printers are a gamble. If your printer is older than 5 years, it'll probably work fine. Will my Wi-Fi work? Usually yes. If you have a laptop from the last 5 years, your Wi-Fi card is probably supported. Realtek and Intel Wi-Fi cards have excellent support. Some Broadcom cards need extra drivers, but the installation process usually handles this. What about my files? Your documents, photos, videos, all that stays safe. Linux can read Windows drives just fine. When you dual boot or access an old Windows hard drive, your files are right there. You can copy them to your Linux home folder. File formats are mostly cross-platform. JPG images work everywhere. MP4 videos work everywhere. PDF documents work everywhere. DOCX files open in LibreOffice. You won't lose access to anything. Battery life on laptops is sometimes better on Linux, sometimes worse. It depends on your hardware and how well the drivers are optimized. On some laptops, Linux gives you an extra hour of battery life because it's more efficient than Windows. On others, you lose a bit because the power management isn't as refined. There are tools like TLP and Auto CPU Frec that improve battery life, but they require some setup. One thing to understand about Linux is that it respects you as a user. You're not fighting your operating system. There are no forced updates. no ads, no telemetry spying on you, no features you can't disable. If something annoys you, you can change it. If you don't like the default file manager, install a different one. If you don't like the terminal emulator, use another one. Everything is customizable and nothing is locked down. The philosophy is different from Windows. Windows says, we know what's best for you, trust us, don't touch anything. Linux says, here's the computer, you're in control, do what you want. This is empowering, but also means you can break things if you're not careful. The good news is that modern desktop Linux is very hard to break. The days of accidentally destroying your system are mostly over. And if you do mess something up, your files are usually safe and you can just reinstall the OS. Let's address performance. On the same hardware, Linux is almost always faster than Windows. It uses less RAM, less CPU, boots faster, runs cooler. A computer that struggled with Windows 10 will fly on Linux Mint with the Mate or XFCE desktop. A computer that can barely run Windows 11 will run KDE Plasma smoothly. If you have an old computer from 2015 or earlier that's too slow for Windows, Linux will breathe new life into it. That's 240 million computers that Microsoft says are e-waste, but that run Linux perfectly. The software ecosystem is different. You won't have access to every Windows program. But here's what you need to know. For web browsing, email, watching videos, listening to music, editing documents, managing photos, Linux has everything you need built in or easily installable. For gaming, most games work. For creative work, there are alternatives that range from good enough to professional quality. For specialized business software, you might need to keep Windows in a virtual machine or dual boot. For everything else, Linux probably has you covered. One huge advantage of Linux is privacy. There's no telemetry unless you explicitly opt in. The system doesn't phone home constantly like Windows. Your data stays on your computer. Nobody is building a profile of your activities. This peace of mind is worth the switch alone. You don't have to worry about Microsoft taking screenshots of your banking or medical information. You don't have to disable 20 different tracking settings. Privacy is the default. Security is another big win. Linux is inherently more secure than Windows for several reasons. Most malware targets Windows because that's where the users are. Linux has proper user permissions, so programs can't modify system files without asking. Software comes from verified repositories instead of random websites. Updates fix security issues quickly. You don't need antivirus software on Linux. The system is secure by design. Now, I want to be realistic about the challenges. You will hit bumps. Something won't work exactly how you expect. You'll Google how to do something that was simple in Windows. You'll miss a specific program. This is normal and temporary. Give yourself 2 weeks to adjust. The first few days will feel strange. By day 7, you'll be comfortable. By day 14, you'll wonder why you didn't switch sooner. And in a month, you'll probably prefer Linux. The biggest challenge for most people is letting go of familiarity. You've used Windows for years or decades. You know where everything is. You know how to fix problems. Starting over feels scary, but remember why you're switching. Windows 11 is broken. Windows 12 will be worse. Microsoft doesn't respect you. The future of Windows is more AI, more cloud, more subscriptions, more control taken away from you. Linux represents freedom, control, and actually owning your computer. My personal recommendation, if you've never used Linux before, start with Linux Mint Cinnamon Edition. It's the easiest transition, the community is the most helpful, and it just works. Install it, use it for a month. Yes, and see how you feel. If you want something more modern and polished, try Zorin OS. If you're a gamer or developer, Pop OS is excellent. If you like customization, try Kubuntu. But honestly, you can't go wrong with any of these 7. They're all solid, they're all maintained, and they're all better than dealing with Microsoft's nonsense. The year 2026 is the perfect time to make this switch. Windows 10 support is gone, Windows 11 is a mess, hardware requirements are insane, and the Linux ecosystem has matured to the point where it's genuinely beginner-friendly. Millions of people are making this switch right now. You're not alone. There are communities, forums, YouTube channels, all dedicated to helping people like you make the transition successfully. So download that ISO, create that bootable USB, and take back control of your computer. You've got nothing to lose except ads, spyware, forced updates, and subscription fees. Try it. You might actually enjoy using your computer again. That's it for this video. Let me know in the comments which distro you're going to try, or which one you've already switched to. And if this helped you, share it with anyone else who's tired of Windows. See you in the next one.